Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Parishscope, the podcast based on the newsletter of St. John's Lutheran Church, St. John, San Prairie. I'm Pastor Chris Sansom.
And I'm Casey Doremus. I am the contemporary DPG at St. John's.
Honestly, I don't even know if I know what that's.
We don't remember. It's
Director, praise guy.
I think that was
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But I can't. Yeah, it's one of those things where I may. I feel bad because I should have wrote it down. Right?
No, it's okay.
And I didn't. I didn't write it down.
It's fine. It's a living. It's okay.
It's a living. It's the way it goes. It's the way I'm just going to forget stuff. We're just going to have like random traditions just all over the place. Well, everybody, it is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I'll be honest. I texted Casey earlier today, and I was like, Casey, it's right before Thanksgiving. We've got to talk about Thanksgiving dinner. We got to talk about it. We have to talk about it. Now, most of us know kind of a little bit about the history, and I'm not going to go through a lot of history for this. And part of the reason for that is because while it is interesting history and it is good American history, it's not necessarily church history. There is a little bit of church overlay in that a lot of this is based off of a group of people that left England. We usually call them the Puritans. They were Puritans because they were incredibly what we call pietistic.
Pietistic?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, right before the show, I looked this word up because I was like, I know how I would define it, but I want to make sure that I want to make sure that I get the definition correct. So the technical definition is the quality of being religious or reverent. Acts of piety and charity. That's kind of a nice way of saying, but it's almost like, think about it in terms of like overly zealous in the way that we live. All of us, to some degree, have a sense of what we'd call piety. But the Puritans were incredibly zealous in their form of pietistic. To put it another way, it's basically the polite, nice way of calling somebody a legalist.
Legalist. Okay.
Yeah. Somebody who basically takes like their religion, or in our case Christianity, and makes it all just a subset of laws and rules.
Okay.
So your piety is how you live. It's how you kind of live out your faith. What rules do you have? What laws do you obey? What kind of things do you really take in? I mean, we get to all these kinds of questions all the time. Goodness gracious, like some of you parents out there probably are like, well, what if my daughter or son comes down the stairs wearing, a shirt that's inappropriate for school? Do you let them go or do you not? That's a form of your own personal piety, how you want that to reflect both upon yourself and upon even your children. The Puritans were an incredibly zealous group. They had a very high range of pietistic belief, to the point where it really did become burdensome. Like you couldn't go out and do certain things, and you couldn't be and function in certain ways. It's hard for me to give you point blank examples, partially because I didn't look this all up. But trust me, if you start reading some of their letters, you will pick up on it right away. And we see this around, though. We see even churches today that have incredibly high levels of piety. And whenever we as Christians kind of reflect on this, one of the things that's a good thing for us to reflect upon is not just to say, oh, what they're doing is bad or whatever, but to answer that question like, okay, why is it bad? And is it really bad anyway? Just because maybe we don't agree with it right now doesn't make it bad. Maybe they have a different viewpoint than we do. But we also need to be very, very careful with this, because a lot of times pietistic movements work their way into a form of works righteousness. They're going to get to heaven, according to them, because of the great purity they have, right? There's Puritanism, right? This idea of maintaining your own purity. And so you're not sinning, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what they believe. But anyway, it was a branch of those that kind of came over into the New World. A lot of them pretty much died right off the bat. Obviously they got some help from some of the local natives. One in particular, I think we usually call him Squanto. I'm pretty certain that was not his real name. I've looked it up, but I can't pronounce his real name. But I think to the English or the Americans, we just called him Squanto. And that kind of formed the basis of like our first Thanksgiving. But it's years and years down the line. And, we didn't even have a national day of Thanksgiving for a long time. Finally got established. And now here it is. Here it is. It's almost Thanksgiving. But now we have to ask the question, Casey.
Yes.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite? Now, and while you think about that, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
So I was listening. I don't know how many of you guys do this, but the other day I was driving the kids to school. I was listening to 106.9, Mix 106, I think is the name of the station. And they do this thing every morning, and they call it Genius or Google. And the Genius or Google is always some question that they think of. The question of the day the other day was what is the second most disliked food on the Thanksgiving table? Now, they mentioned that the number one most disliked food on the Thanksgiving table, so the traditional Thanksgiving meal, is cranberries, the cranberry sauce. So that's number one.
Interesting. Okay.
So the question then becomes, Casey, what is number two?
I have a very clear, I know what I don't like, but I feel like a lot of people do like it, but I'm going to go, because I don't know, it's a weird food though. I'm going to go with yams.
And I'll be honest, that was my guess.
Yeah.
That was my guess. It's actually turkey.
Well, yeah, okay, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that weird though? I thought that was weird.
Those are pretty much the two defining foods of Thanksgiving though. I mean, yeah, everything else goes with it, but it's like the two, it's like cranberries and turkey are the seasonal sort of thing you eat.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I was surprised by that. Turkey.
Yeah.
Turkey.
My wife doesn't really like turkey.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like it. I don't know. I do. But
so this last weekend, I made a really quick trip down to Missouri. We kind of did our Missouri Sansom family Thanksgiving kind of thing. And my brother smoked a turkey.
Ooh.
And I'm not joking. I'm going to try to repeat what he did. My brother and my brother's about 9.5 years younger than me, and him and I, we kind of compete a little bit. And I like to believe that my cooking skills are better than his. But I'm not going to lie. This turkey has given me a run for my money.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best turkeys I've ever had in my life. It was really good.
Yeah. I'm lucky that actually my older brother, 6 years older than me, he smokes a turkey every year. He'll smoke a turkey, and then they'll also cook a turkey in the oven.
Yeah.
And so there's one of each. But yeah, the smoked turkey, it's really good.
Yeah. Oh, I do love that. I see, and I'll be honest, I understand the answer of turkey being the second most disliked, food, but at the same time, like, not me. I love turkey. I just do.
You don't eat a turkey all the time.
No.
So to me, it's like it's once a year. Get in there and have some turkey and have a good time.
Right? Have some turkey.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I will say there's one dish that I don't know. It's probably sort of a cheat, but I used to. There was a winter that I did. I played for a show at the Conklin Dinner Theater, which is in Goodfield, Illinois. And they serve a buffet, and then they have their dinner show like they do. And so I drummed for that. It was really, really fun time. But their Christmas show started beginning of November and then went all the way through New Year's. And they had every single night they had this dish, which was a sort of bake of turkey, stuffing, and then like a layer of cranberry sauce on top of it.
Oh my goodness!
I ate that for 2 months straight. Not once did I ever go, man, I'm really tired of this. I loved every single night eating that food. It was,
and it's like a layered thing?
Yeah. It was just this like sort of, I don't know, sort of casserole doesn't really seem right to me to say, but
yeah,
it was just this, it's all like one sort of mush, but oh my gosh, it was so good.
One sort of mush.
I mean, yeah, it was just so delicious. It was amazing. And so that's kind of my, we actually do, my family, we do cut up a turkey breast, and you put cream of chicken on top of it, mozzarella cheese, and then stuffing on top
Okay.
of it, and then you bake that for like 45 minutes.
Okay.
And it's almost the same thing, and it's really really good.
All right.
But that's like, oh, that's so
See,
good.
and I have a little bit of a confession to make. See, like like I understand, like that's everybody's favorite, and everybody also always loves that green bean casserole that everybody makes. But I'm not gonna lie, don't like it.
I'm not big on it either, to be honest.
But here's the thing, this is confession time for me. I don't like cream of mushroom soup. I don't like mushrooms.
Don't like mushrooms.
I don't like mushrooms in general, and the cream of mushroom soup is just like awful on top of it. So to me, that casserole that everybody loves with the green beans and everything, nope, just not my thing. Give me just straight up green beans any day of the week. I love them to death, but not that casserole. And I'll be honest, I tend to veer away a lot from the cream-based things like the cream of chicken, cream of broccoli. But again, part of that is just because I really don't like cream of mushroom, and that is like 99% of the time what everybody uses.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of veer away from it because I'm like so expecting it to be the mushroom.
Right.
So that kind of becomes my like, oh, this is gross. And it's not. It's actually really good a lot of times. But yeah, so
what's your main dish then? What's your favorite?
Oh man. This is, so my family also does, they don't usually do turkey. Actually, my brother smoked a turkey this year, but, ham is a lot of times what they do. But I'll be honest, you know what my favorite dish is? And I don't get it very often. And in fact, to be honest with you, it doesn't even come up every Thanksgiving. It is like this dish, and it's got, I don't even know what it's called. I know it's super unhealthy, which is probably why I love it. But it's like carrots and broccoli, and it's like melted Velveeta cheese.
Oh,
and then they put like the Ritz cracker topping or whatever it is on top of it. Oh, yeah.
We do something kind of similar to that, which is it's like broccoli cheese rice.
Okay, sure.
Like, yeah, it's use Cheese Whiz, like not the can, like spray can thing.
Yeah.
But the actual jar of it. You mix, and there's some other stuff with that too. I don't know if you need Velveeta or not. I can't remember. I'll have to ask my wife. But it's like rice, broccoli, and
that'd be good too.
Just cheese. Oh, it's so delicious.
Yeah.
We make that every year. That would be for sure my second dish that I love so much.
Yeah. See, and I'll be honest, that one I just mentioned, that's my favorite. I love it. But I don't cook it, and I don't get it every year, and that's probably for the best because I'm pretty sure I would die early if I got that. I'm obsessed with. I love that one.
Right.
Like I will go back and get seconds and thirds of that before anything else, and it's like, and it's so wrong. It's so wrong.
It's once a year, though.
I know it doesn't matter.
Gotta enjoy it.
I do a little too much. I love that. But if I'm honest, though, like in terms of the meat selection, I actually love turkey, so I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
But we usually cook ham a lot of times. But I'm glad I'm kind of getting in the turkey season again, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I do like the turkey.
Are you now? Since we're talking turkey,
yeah.
White meat, dark meat.
I'll be honest with you. Like, by and large, I am a white meat fan. But the argument that white meat dries out is true. It's a valid argument. Now, there are ways to make it not dry out. And if you can do that, then it's really the best. But I prefer white meat.
Interesting.
How about yourself?
I'm a dark meat person for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. It tends to be juicier.
Yeah. It's delicious. Yeah. And I will say, when my brother will smoke the turkey, they usually put bacon like on top of it. And then it's kind of like there's these just like bacon not bits, but bacon chunks like kind of intermixed. Oh, that's
bacon makes
really
everything better.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Makes everything better.
So then let's see. So what about, are you a mashed potato person or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love mashed
Love
potatoes.
mashed potatoes.
It's the best.
And if I'm honest, I actually like sweet potatoes too. But like, yeah, and sweet potatoes usually associated with Thanksgiving. I can do like a mashed sweet potato that one time a year. So I can definitely do that.
I just took a drink and I spilled some on myself, so that's why there's hesitation in Pastor Chris's voice a little bit.
Casey, you have a drinking problem.
I do. That first swig is always the one that gets me.
It is, and the worst part is I've done that before. myself. I do it all the time. Oh man, I'm sorry. I couldn't
It's okay.
help myself.
It's okay. I'm sorry I derailed it. We're going on such a streak, and then I had to take a drink of water, and I just ruined it.
Oh no, it's awesome.
Now, I will say this. Since people are listening to this, I feel like I have to give a little.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't want it to be a boring podcast.
Nobody wants a boring podcast.
But I can't do sweet potatoes / yams. I just can't.
Okay.
And what really stinks is that I love marshmallows.
Yeah.
I'm a huge marshmallow fan, but I can't eat them because the last time I had actual, like, yams out of the oven casserole, I was at my church growing up. We had Wednesday night, like, dinners.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't like yams. And then somebody made a deal of like, just eat them. Like, just try them.
Yeah.
They're good. Just eat them. So I started eating them. Like, okay, they're all right. And I wasn't like in love with it, but I'm like, okay, it's okay. And since I have a problem that I just will eat everything on my plate, regardless if I like it or I'm done or not, I ate all the yams. And then the next day I woke up, went to school, and I started feeling real nauseous.
Yeah.
And it actually happened to be, it's funny because my wife now teaches at my old school. My 8th grade year was the first year in this brand new school.
Uh-huh.
So this happened to be the day of the like public dedication. They were community members could come into the school, and we were going to do a big, like the band was going to play.
Yeah.
We were going to do this whole ceremony. And so they switched our classes around to accommodate this. So I was in science, which I wasn't usually until the afternoon. I started feeling real like, ugh, I don't feel good. Don't feel good at all. And then my science teacher, I don't know why we were talking about lice, but he was talking about lice. And then just to kind of, poke like the girls in the room who were like, ew, ew. He started talking about like, you can just feel it like going through your hair. And he just started getting really descriptive. And I was like, oh man, this is not good. And I like violently threw up.
Yeah, I got where you're going with that. Yep.
We had the old, well, they weren't old then, but the like light bulb projector.
Yeah,
thing, the clear thing that was right in front of me. And for months, it's like every time that thing was turned on, it smelled like kind of rancid. I'm pretty sure it got into the vents.
Oh yeah,
because there's all these like vents because it gets so hot.
Oh man!
So I'm pretty sure it got in vents. It also disintegrated my paper that I was writing on. I was taking notes on. It was completely gone. But so I walked out of the room because I'm like, I need to go to the bathroom. Puked in the hallway. So you can hear this loud splat. Echoes through the hallway. And it's throughout the whole 7th, 8th grade. Like everybody in 7th and 8th grade can hear it. Then I got to the bathroom. I didn't quite make it to the actual toilet.
So the point of the matter is, you think the yams did it to you?
That's what was coming out.
Yeah. I mean, and I think we've all had that experience. Like we eat some food, and whether it was the food's fault or whether we had the flu or something and we just didn't know it and whatever, like we never want to eat that food again. I get that.
It was such a violent action, moment. And then the funny part is, I don't know if you've ever had an episode like that where you just clear out everything. You feel like $1 million.
Yeah.
I felt great. And so I got up and they're like, you better go to the office. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I went to the office. Like, all right, we'll call your mom, let you know you need to go home. And I was like, why? Oh, yeah, I guess I threw 3 times in the school. Yeah. But I felt great. So I went home and I drummed all day. Had my drums, played my drum set all day. I felt great. I didn't feel sick at all. I just, but I did miss the whole dedication to the school thing. But to this day, I still have claim as the first person to ever puke in the school.
What a claim that is.
It is.
Really, I don't know why they don't have a plaque on the wall.
I know.
And now your name on it.
And now my wife teaches there, so she has mentioned that I'm very proud of this fact. And a lot of teachers are like, oh, why? But that's my yam story. I can't.
I get that. Again, we all have that. We all have that thing we can't have anymore. I get that.
The only thing I can do is I worked at a restaurant that had sweet potato fries.
Yeah.
And as long as I took a small enough piece and I covered it in enough ketchup, I could eat it.
But at that point, why not just eat a normal fry?
Because we were in the back and it was like, hey,
Yeah.
the person didn't want these fries. And so it was like, all right, well, I guess I'll eat something. So, I feel like I got to give something. So,
But yeah,
there you go.
giving something of yourself.
Yes.
For the Thanksgiving tradition.
Yeah. And for the people who take the time to listen to our podcast.
Take the time.
Yeah.
So now here's actually, and I'm completely side railing us from that. And I'm moving us to something.
Are you going to tell us about your biggest episode of puking or no? No. Go ahead.
No,
Change the subject.
I'm not going down that path. I'm going to go down a completely different path, and that is this. So growing up, my a large part of my family, my dad's side of the family, all comes from Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And Mississippi and the northern states do things a little differently. You got the South and you got the North. And one of the things that we do different is stuffing. Mm. And so the big question is, have you ever had... They don't always call it stuffing. Sometimes they call it dressing. But
right.
Have you ever had Southern style dressing or stuffing?
I don't. Well, I've had different stuffing / dressings. Of course, my family's pretty traditional stovetop people. Mm-hmm.
And that's more of a northern.
And thing. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. My sister-in-law made what she called oyster stuffing.
Yeah.
Which was I don't really know what exactly it was. It was very, very it was very bready.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, stuffing is bread.
Yeah.
But it was more the stovetop stuff is a lot more moist and kind of mushes around, and it was a lot more it was kind of like you were eating bread.
Yeah.
like actual bread. So I don't know if that's anything close to it or not.
So Southern style dressing or stuffing is made with a cornmeal.
Okay.
And it also has a lot of heavy cream, and it also has chicken and onions in it. So they cook up the onions. It's To be honest, it's really good. That you can cook it almost in a loaf pan. And it's really good, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But I've noticed that Southerners do that, and Northerners will tend to more of the stovetop style. Mm-hmm. Whereas breadcrumbs and stuff like that, and then sometimes they'll add hamburger and stuff to it as well.
Yeah.
Which again, there's nothing wrong with it. To be honest with you, I'll have all of it. But the grand scheme of things, I know, I know that's always a big question I ask. Is that what? And what do you guys have any foods that are peculiar? I guess I shouldn't say peculiar, but different, unique.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. My family, I would say, growing up, no. We've gotten more to where, and I'm, if my family listens to this, then, well, you guys all know it's true. But it's gotten weirder over the years.
Sure.
Because people start being like, I'm going to bring this. And then everybody's like, what is that? And so, and sometimes it's just stuff that's not even Thanksgiving food.
Mm-hmm.
It's just random kind of dishes they want to bring, which is fine. But... there's one dish that my in-laws were they always make, which is cranberries.
Yeah.
Where they cut it up. Maybe this is more traditional to most people. I don't know. I never had it growing up. They cut up a bunch of cranberries, actual cranberries, not like a jelly or anything. Mm-hmm. And then they cut up orange zest, mm-hmm. and they mix it all together. And a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
And it is when you eat it, your eyes open. It's whoa.
Yeah.
It is so powerful because there's so much sugar, and it's so acidic.
So they're making a unique version of a cranberry sauce.
Yeah.
And that and cranberry sauce.
Yeah.
The really... cranberry sauce anyway is very traditional.
Yeah.
Now a lot of us just have it in the can now. It's gelatinized.
Yeah. Which I do admit I like it. I can eat that. Well, I used to be able to eat a can on my own on Thanksgiving and be very proud of that fact. But now I get halfway through a can. I'm like, okay, this is I'm starting to. I feel like I'm gonna fall asleep now. I'm going into a coma.
Yeah. Oh man.
So besides stuffing, is there a weird dish you guys have or?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I started to think about that. Like, I mean, again, I think, part of it comes down to just a heritage thing, right? Again, we're more Southern, a lot of my family. So it's not uncommon for us to have purple whole peas. Now, we didn't this year, but purple whole peas is a big one. Although we'll just have purple whole peas because they're delicious. But I don't think anything else is really all that odd. I think everything else is pretty normal. Of course, I always wait for other outside opinions, right? Because that's when you find out that it's odd, because everybody else is
exactly, yeah.
That's when they look at you funny, like, you what? Like, well, yeah.
Yeah, you never know. There's lots of there's a comedian who has a joke about that. Like, you start talking to people when you get older and you realize how weird your childhood was. Like,
yeah.
Everybody gets tied up in the backyard when they're being crazy, right? And it's like, people are like, what? And then you're like, oh, what? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. We're pretty traditional. I feel like the thing that's funny is, when you go into another family's Thanksgiving, is that my family is, when it comes to seasonings, my family is a salt family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As in, no one really puts spices into food, because you just pour a pound of salt on all your food when you put it on your plate. So you don't need seasoning or,
oh, brother,
basil or any of that crap. You just, here's all your food, pour a bunch of salt on the plate, and then you go eat. And, so that was mostly what my family did. And then when I, started dating now my wife, is her family's they do twice baked potatoes, where they scoop out the potatoes, they mash them, and they put them with cream cheese and Velveeta and all this stuff, and they put them back in and then bake them again. And it's like, wow, this is crazy. I've never had anything like this.
So here's a good question for you. Because this actually came up this last Thanksgiving. I kind of forgot about it until just now.
Yeah.
You were talking about twice baked potatoes, but what came to mind is deviled eggs. Now, here's the thing. My sister made deviled eggs for Thanksgiving this year. Now, I don't eat eggs. I don't like eggs. I'll eat scrambled eggs, but that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of eggs, just in general, period. In fact, I do not have a dozen eggs in my fridge right now. I haven't for months. I do not use them in most of my cooking.
We have probably 40 eggs in our...
Yeah, I got none.
Right now.
I got none. And I don't miss them. It's not like I'm over here going, oh boy, if I only had egg. No, I just don't use eggs. And I do use some substitutes whenever I need it. I use flaxseed meal and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, as discussed during our pumpkin muffin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You didn't have eggs in the house.
I didn't have eggs in the house. And I
Which I thought, man, that's weird. He must have been out of eggs, but you apparently don't.
Yeah, I don't really use them or eat them a lot. But
interesting.
My sister made deviled eggs, and the question came up was is that a Thanksgiving thing or is it just an Easter thing? I mean, it's obviously an Easter thing, but do you have those for Thanksgiving?
I don't.
Obviously, our family does.
I think
it was a bit of a discussion, but
I think we have done that before. Deviled eggs are a tricky one for me because I really do love deviled eggs.
Yeah.
Except I'm not really a mustard person, so it's the mustard to egg ratio or whatever.
Yeah.
Some people put a ton of mustard in it, and some just put a little tiny bit and mix up.
Yeah.
And I'm good with the tiny bit because I'm not a mustard guy.
Yeah.
But it's always a gamble because I'll have to try it. And then if it's a lot of mustard, then I have to kind of slowly, nonchalantly spit it out.
Yeah.
put it in the garbage, and I feel bad because I wasted one. But I don't know. Same thing with potato salad.
Yeah.
Potato salad can be really delicious. It can also, people can put a lot of mustard into it if they want. And so that's always the
See,
I don't know which way it's going to go.
And again, a lot of people put eggs or hard-boiled eggs in their potato salad. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so I won't eat it. Now, I will say this. I typically eat German potato salad. It's one of the only potato salads I will eat because usually it doesn't have eggs. Now, there are exceptions.
Yeah.
But usually it doesn't have eggs. It's got a little sweeter flavor to it, and I really like it.
What's a German potato salad exactly? Is it mostly the same, or is there...
It's hard to explain. Okay. I'll have to show you a recipe or something for it later.
Okay, that's
somebody at church is going to hunt you down and be like, "This is German potato salad. It's delicious, is what it is.
Yeah,
it is. It is delicious.
That's because my grandmother was Austrian, came out here after World War II and everything, and she was an awful cook. So I don't have like any recipes passed down from like the motherland or anything like that. And I wish I did. I wish I had some like, oh man, my grandma, I have this goulash recipe from my grandma. I don't have any of that. So
one of the things that we used to have for Thanksgiving, and we haven't really had it since my great grandma passed years and years ago. But one of the things that we used to have, because there were a lot of years where we'd all go down to Mississippi for Thanksgiving. And my great grandma used to make chicken and dumplings, and that was her. That was her thing, like And I always thought it was funny because I really don't like chicken and dumplings, but I loved chicken and dumplings on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
but it was how she prepared them. Mm-hmm. Just recently, just this last year, we went down to Mississippi for a few days, and my family still owns my great grandma's house.
Okay.
And the shed and everything else that's like kind of along those lines. We found my great grandma's box of recipes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It is really awesome. And I can't wait to get a couple scans, especially of the chicken and dumplings recipe. We did find it. And I can't wait to find it and actually kind of try it. The only problem is that she wrote it the way somebody wrote it in the early 1900s or mid 1900s,
right.
A pinch of this, a dash of that,
right.
Dump this in there until it looks like this, and you're just going, well, what am I supposed to do with that?
I mean, I've had people who are really good cooks be like, yeah, measuring's for like people who like can't cook. Like they act like if they're really good, so like, yeah, I just know how much to put in. Like I don't measure it.
But you always start with measurements so you know what it's supposed to look like, and then after a while you get good at whatever.
Now, that's amazing. Are there any recipes of – this is, I think, an interesting one because I have a story about this. Are there any recipes of like dishes or food that you have been lost that people are like, oh, man. Like, I mean, I guess you just found like the box of her recipes, so that's amazing.
So what the old timers used to do, and I don't know, maybe some people still do this. Nowadays – I'll be honest, I'm kind of a modern guy. So like most of my recipes are saved in like Google Drive files or whatever, docs on my computer. But what they used to do is have like almost these index cards.
Yes.
Yeah. And they have these boxes. Well, we found a box of all these different boxes.
Oh, wow.
So we probably have 40 years worth of recipes in there.
Wow.
And a lot of it's like she has entire boxes filled with newspaper clippings. Mm-hmm. Recipes that were just in the newspaper for the day or whatever.
Yeah, that's amazing. See,
and so
I really, I feel like that is something that we are kind of missing out on because my mom had in our house like it was like a flip out drawer that had all the recipes in there. And because there's always times where I'm sitting there going like, what should we have this week? I don't know. And it kills us because we're just, I don't know what to get. And if I just had a box where I go, well, let's look through. Hey, let's have this. This is good. Let's have that. And all the recipes that we know. That's what that is a true statement right in front of us all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would actually completely agree with that standpoint. And I do completely agree with it. But I will say this. This is one thing that's been a little bit fun to do with AI. Yeah. If you've been messing with ChatGPT a little bit or something like that, tell it to make you a week-long meal plan.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, then after you get done, you can say, no, I don't like this or I don't like that, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then you can say, now make a shopping list based on that.
Yeah.
Then it'll make your shopping list. It's perfect.
I know. It's amazing.
It is amazing. So that is one positive thing I can do with ChatGPT. But I will also agree that it will rarely come up with those recipes that people like my grandma and great-grandma used. So
well, and they just knew what they were doing with it. See, what's interesting or what's funny about it is that there was a pickle recipe that my great-grandmother had, and everybody in the family loved these pickles. I'm not a pickle person. I was also really young, so I never really got it. But it was, this I don't know, passed down through generations sort of thing. And it got given to, I don't want to throw her under the bus, but my mother.
Yeah.
And my mother looked at it, and it was like, you put, the pickles in this jar of vinegar, and you put it out in the sun for 2 weeks. and then you take the pickles out and you do this thing, and then you put them in spice or something. And you put it in like this other place for a week, and then you do. And my mom was like, "There's no way I'm ever doing that," and she just threw it away. And everybody's like, "What happened to that recipe? Oh my gosh, I wish I could have those pickles." And my mom was like, "Oh, yeah, I tossed that." And so that's something we give her. We joke with her about that all the time. That it's like, how could you throw away a family recipe like that? But she's like, "Oh, you want to spend a month and a half making pickles? Go, be my guest, whatever."
Yeah.
But that's how my grandmother. I guess my great grandmother did it. She has this long time to make it. But I don't know. I find that it is interesting though.
Yeah. So tomorrow night is our Thanksgiving Eve service. Like I told everybody at church, bake your pies, and then those pies, they have to come back down to room temperature. So you might as well just go ahead and just let them sit to rest. Gives you about 3 hours. That's what the recommended dosage. I know that for at least the pecan pie because that's the one I like making. Well, actually, I like to make a lot of them, but pecan pies, I know it takes about 3 hours to cool down. So cook your pies, set them out to rest, come out to church.
That's right.
And I think that's actually a really good thing to highlight because, this Thanksgiving Day, one of the things that I do like to do is just to ask yourself those questions, like what are you thankful for? Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, I always so I have a journal, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't remember if we've ever talked about my journal
I don't
on
think
this.
we really have.
But years and years and years ago, for those of you that know, I got onto a Kickstarter plan. Mm-hmm. And so Kickstarter is a way for everybody to give a little bit of money to basically get like a kind of a seedling business up and running.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In this case, the Kickstarter was for this guy who basically had been into daily planners, was a business manager of some kind, and then basically decided that his life wasn't very fulfilling. And so he actually researched, of all things, he researched monks. Now, he didn't join a monastery. He researched monks mainly because he had a family. He had a wife and kids, and he wasn't just going to abandon them to live in a monastery. But one of the things that he wanted to know, the question that was kind of fueling him was how can monks, not all monks, but how can some monks live a life so kind of rigid in a sense, but yet find it so fulfilling and get so much joy out of it and happiness? And so he kind of decided to take those notes and add them to his what he called a daily planner. Mm-hmm. And so he calls it the Monk Manual. And, cheesy name, I guess you might say, or maybe a weird name, but I'll be honest, I really like it. And so I've been using it for years. I will be honest, the last couple years I have not used it near what I should have. But that being said, I do use it from time to time, and I try to do it as regular as I can. You'll sometimes see me hauling around this leather. I got a leather binding because you see that was the benefit. Whenever I got the Kickstarter, I donated, and it wasn't much. It was like $10.
Yeah.
And because it was a Kickstarter campaign, the guy, what he did is he gave me the PDF files for the actual manual.
Oh wow.
Now he sells these things like $40 for 90 days worth of pages.
Yeah.
And I just have the PDF, so I just print them. So yeah, like that. But that was the thing, at the time it was the Kickstarter campaign. And he's like, "Hey, I'll give you the PDFs to print." Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. I actually had a couple different email exchanges with the owner of it. And basically I said, "Look, this is what I'm doing." And he's like, "Yeah, that's why you have the pages." And I said, "Okay."
That's why I gave it to you.
just as long as I'm printing these out and using these, I'm not buying your book. I'm happy to help you with the Kickstarter, but that was what I'm doing. But yes, one of the things that I like about it though is on each and every page, on each and every day, it has a place for me to list 3 things that I'm thankful for. And I think this is a good practice. And to be honest with you, there's been a lot of studies done that show that trying to think positive and think in terms of things that you're thankful for and all that kind of stuff, a lot of times there's a lot of data that shows that that's actually really healthy and really good for us, just as humans. And so my challenge to everybody is always this, and this is really hard. You don't think it's really hard, but it's really hard. This monk manual asks me for 3 things every single day. And so what I say is maybe you want to start with a week, but eventually try to get to the point where you're doing a month. 3 different things every day. Again, first couple days, not a big deal, right? All of us can think of 3 things a day for like 5-7 days. It'll start off all the same. Well, I'm happy for my family. I'm happy for my job. I'm happy that I got food on the table. But, after a while, you got to start getting really, really specific. And it starts to get really, really challenging because, it can't just be, well, I'm happy, I'm thankful for my family. It's got to be like, no, I'm happy and thankful that my family does this thing. You got to start getting really, really specific. And I think that challenge is actually very, very helpful for a lot of us as we kind of process this. And look, I'll be the first to admit, sometimes I get Christmas cards and stuff like this. And look, guys, I am really bad at writing thank you notes. I wish I was better. I'm not.
I'm bad at it too, I'll be honest.
Yeah. But the thing of it is I am so thankful for so many things. The church that God has called me to here, being the pastor, I'm just so thankful for so much stuff. And so I love taking this challenge, and I used to take it every November. I'll be honest, I'm behind right now, but I love kind of taking this challenge every November where I kind of just set aside and say, okay, every day I'm going to try to write some things that I am thankful for. And I'm going to try to create, think of something new every single day. And sometimes after a while, it does start getting down to like, hey, I'm really thankful, that this person is in my life and that they're able to help me with this and all this kind of stuff. And so I think that's a good thing for us to remember, especially as we gather for Thanksgiving, right? Giving thanks and all that. And then, of course, also, church kind of becomes that center point. I don't usually make a real big deal out of Thanksgiving because it's not technically a church holiday. But at the same time, it is a time that we as a country set aside to give thanks. And who better to give thanks to than our Heavenly Father? Somebody that we all too often take for granted. We wake up in the morning and most of us don't say thanks to God, but yet we should, right? We woke up.
We should, yeah.
We woke up on this planet and we live in a wonderful, awesome country and we have all these blessings that stand before us. It's a great opportunity for us to come and reflect. And the beauty of church is that we don't just get to say thanks, but we actually get to receive. Even though we're there maybe to say thanks to the Lord, the reality is that we actually receive from the Lord as well. And so yeah. So this Thanksgiving, and in fact, we do a Thanksgiving Eve service. So tomorrow evening at 5:30, come give thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides doing the daily planner stuff, is there anything else you do that, do you do any sort of exercises besides that? I guess just typically prayer maybe, but that just kind of make you feel, I don't know, more think about the things you have in your life, or no?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, see, again, this planner actually does a lot. I wanted to highlight the Thanksgiving aspect, mainly because, again, Thanksgiving, and we have this aspect of giving thanks. But, so for instance, on the second half of this, that's on page, so each day has 2 pages. One day is to fill out with what you will do, and the second part of the page is to reflect on what you did do.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so each day you can start in the morning by writing out what you will do, and then at the end of the day you can reflect on what you did do. And on that section of reflection, it always asks for your highlights and when you were your best. And I always, when I first got this planner and I first started writing it, I didn't make any distinction. When I was at my best was also my highlights. But I did learn over time that there was a pretty significant distinction. Sometimes sometimes somebody will actually come into your life in a moment in a day and they will just be such a blessing to your day. That's a highlight, but that's not necessarily you being the most efficient worker ever, right? That's them coming into your life and being awesome. And so there is definitely some times whenever you have some huge highlights, but they're not necessarily when you are your best. And there's other times in the day when you are your best, but they're not always the most pleasurable. Maybe you handled a really tense situation. You probably wouldn't say, oh, this is a huge highlight,
Right.
But it very well may have been when you were acting and being your best.
Interesting.
And so I think that's good. I think it also gives us a place. It gives you a place on the one side. It asks two other questions. Name one time during the day when you felt unrest. You know, what's something in the day that maybe was no good, you didn't like the way it went. And then the follow-up question to that is, name one thing you can do tomorrow to make yourself better. And I think that's a very powerful question.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Because we don't really ask ourselves that very often on a regular day-to-day basis. You don't ever stop and reflect and say, okay, what did I do wrong and how can I do better?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting. The monk manual, you say?
Yeah.
I'll have to. That sounds really interesting, though. I like that.
Yeah, and that's the daily side. And then they also he also comes with weekly pages and monthly pages. But I'll be honest, I don't use those as much as I use the daily pages. I just like the daily pages.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll say I do something very weird. I don't. Well, maybe it's. I don't know if other people do it or not, but I'm lucky enough that I get to be home with my kids during the day, and a lot of times what I do is I actually put on old angsty music that I used to listen to.
Yeah.
And play with my kids because, first of all, I mean, I love the music. Second, I don't have such turmoil in my life anymore, but that's what I love so much about listening to the music because I'm literally playing with the kids, and it also puts me back in this headspace of remembering when I was in high school and sort of the outlook of like, am I ever going to get through this? You know, can I get through? So it's a very weird, it puts me in a very like grateful state for everything I have.
Yeah.
Because I'm playing with my kids, they're laughing and we're playing, and it's like I'm having a beautiful moment with them, and I have this music at the same time, and it's like I'm just like soaking up every second of being with them because it's like I'm sort of, I don't know, it's like this way of me kind of reflecting on how far my life has come.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, this weird thing. I don't know if anybody else does that.
I don't know if I do anything like that in particular, but I actually really like that. I really do. Because, I mean, again, you know, look, when you guys are in high school or when you're in middle school or whatever else, I mean, boy, I tell you, something bad happened. It just feels like at the end of the world.
It does, yeah.
And I remember feeling that. I do. I remember experiencing times in my life where, like, just a horrible thing would happen and you just go, oh, this is the worst. Now, as an adult, you can reflect back and you go, yeah, well, it's like a blip on the map, you know. But at that moment, at that time, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like it's just the end. It's just ever. Yeah. And so I get that. Like, there are definitely some songs like that come on from my high school years, and I kind of reflect on them, and I kind of go, wow, yeah. You know, one of the big ones that came out when I was a freshman.
Yeah, I got to hear which ones.
One of the big ones that came out when I was a freshman in high school was The Verve, and we were only freshmen.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so, of course, that one got a lot of playtime.
Right.
But, yeah, and No Doubt was just coming out. They were big. Oh, yeah. 90s
stuff.
Gold, that's what this was.
Yeah.
The alternative rock. You know, but we also had a dark side. I think I was like, what, in 6th, 7th grade when Kurt Cobain, killed himself. And so, you know, and really, you know, I know my sister, for instance, was a big fan of Nirvana. I really didn't know who Nirvana was until that all happened. And then you kind of go, wow, who is this guy? And then you listen to music, like, what happened?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I think that causes you to reflect too, you know, like what happened. But again, it just, whenever you're in that grade and that level, it just, every awful thing just seems like it's the end. So being able to reflect back on that and going, you know, it really wasn't the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's also helpful for the future, because then when you get into another bad position, because, hey, bad stuff happens. It's the world, right? It's a sinful world. Then you can kind of reflect and go, well, you know, I've kind of been there before. I've had this feeling before. Yeah. You know, it's going to pass. It might take some time, but it's going to pass.
I'm glad you mentioned some bands and stuff, because I was thinking, do you have any music that, like, hits the same way? Because I think back to, like, the 80s and think, like, you know, you're probably not crying much to Rock You Like a Hurricane or anything like that. You know, you're probably not like, oh man, I put on Detroit Rock City, and I just cry my eyes out while I'm playing with my kids. You know, you're probably not the same thing, but But we
were rocking out to Mr. Big or Extreme.
Oh yeah,
Heard the guitarist is awesome.
He is, and he plays with Rihanna.
Yeah. So I brought that up because I was flipping through, I think it was TikTok a while back, and I came across our very own Casey Doremus actually discussing the guitarist in the background of
the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl. And you were like, yeah, this is not just a nobody. Like, this is actually a really famous guitarist.
Yeah, it was Rihanna was performing, and then she walks past her band, and it's Nuno Bettencourt, who is one of, I would say he's sort of like, if you're a guitar player, you should know who Nuno Bettencourt is, for sure. And if you grew up listening to Extreme, you know who he is. I would say people in my generation, unless they're like, if they're a musician, they know who he is. But if you're just like an average, I shouldn't say average, but if you're just someone who you don't play an instrument, you don't really look into, you probably don't know who he is. And he's probably one of the most talented guitar players like of his generation. He's very, very, very good. Yeah. And so it's like when you go through, it's like that's not just like some studio guy. That's Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I made that little thing right after the Super Bowl. It's on the music. I did it for my music store that I work for, and it's up to like 900,000 views or something. And the comments are crazy, dude. It's like people just going on about, some people are like, I love Extreme, and then like other people are like, that guy's a nobody. What are you talking about? It's like I just explain why he's not, and and a lot of stuff about how they're all Satan worshipers. Yeah. A lot of crazy people come out of the works when you start getting into those really high view videos.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Oh, and I know how that goes. I remember a while back, I was doing a Bible study. Actually, that was like during the pandemic, and I was doing a Bible study on the Gospel of Mark. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to advertise this on Facebook. I don't really advertise a lot on Facebook, but I was like, I'm going to do it. And so I boosted it. And, Facebook's algorithm, man, it makes sure people see it. And I started getting a bunch of hate messages on that thing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was crazy. But what I found out is that there's a lot of people out there that do not know how the algorithm works. Mm-hmm. Because I couldn't tell you how many comments I got from people that go, I don't know why I keep seeing this. And I was like, because you're commenting on it.
Yeah.
If you just flipped past it, the algorithm would identify that as somebody who's not interested and move on. But you keep commenting, and they don't really read your comments. They don't care. Yeah, they just care that you actually interacted with this advertisement. Mm-hmm. And they're going, he must want to see this. And so it's like, I just felt, and I did. I think I wrote that the first 2 or 3 of them. I was like, because you're commenting on this. But after a while, I just gave up because they just kept coming. And I'm just like, you're seeing it because you're commenting. And you're stopping and you're looking at it and you're investing. Yeah. Like just scroll on by if you're not interested. It's like, but yeah, I think the same thing probably with TikTok. Like, why do I see all this? Well, because you interact with it. That's why.
Yep. Yeah. It's the internet's a tricky place because if you truly don't want something to go viral, then you have to just ignore it. You can't comment or take a screenshot and be like, this guy's stupid, or you're just, any publicity is publicity. Yep. So you have to just learn how to not comment and move on.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people have a very hard time doing that because they want to state why they hate this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like every time I'll get a video on my Power Ranger channel, someone will be like, really? It's like, what, you 30 years old talk about Power Rangers? And it's like, well, really? You're commenting. I don't know why you're watching the video.
And how old are you watching this video?
It's like somehow you got brought to this, and also you commented, so all you did was help my video. You just made it better. So it's the internet is a tricky place to maneuver. Some people don't quite realize it, but yeah.
But it is. It's just fun. It's just fun. But yeah. So I think in summary, this Thanksgiving, eat some food, but give thanks.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Let's see. Is it time or is it?
I think it's time.
It's time. We had a real long one last week. So
we're doing okay this time.
Yeah. Okay. So. Can't have So it's time for Church Chatter. All right. So we got a lot of big stuff coming up. It's exciting. It's exciting times. So first off, obviously this Thursday, or no, sorry, not Thursday, Wednesday, tomorrow. I keep forgetting that. I hope, I'll be honest with you, sometimes it takes me a little bit to get these podcasts out.
Yeah.
I have to get this out tomorrow.
So we have to say, then we have to say today.
Yeah, right. So Wednesday, today is Tuesday. Today's Tuesday the 21st. Tomorrow is Wednesday. 5:30 p.m. we have our Thanksgiving Eve service. Yay! And then on Sunday, we have what we call Hanging of the Greens.
Yes.
Which, by the way, it always cracks me up. I don't know what that Green family did, but we're done with them.
We had a Green family in my church growing up, so it does crack me up to say that. Hanging of the Greens.
You know, when I first got here, I really didn't know what that was. I just never heard that before. And I think it's funny because, there's a lot of churches that will say, hey, it's the Hanging of the Greens, and everybody just knows. And so it's a real common phrase. I just had never heard it before. So, the first time I was like, what is that?
Yeah, I've never heard of that phrase before.
But yeah,
of course, I came from a church that had no tradition. The only tradition we had was a guy named Terry, who was an interior designer who decorated the whole church every Christmas. Did a beautiful job, wonderful guy.
Yeah.
That's it. We didn't have a Hanging of the Greens or a whole. It was just kind of Terry did a great job, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say is, if you got some extra time, join us for lunch after the second service. And then after that, we're going to be off to the races. We're going to put on some Christmas music, and we're going to be decorating the church, beautifying the church. And so we always look forward to it. I know it's a time that I actually love. So if you're able to come, great. If you can't, we'll miss you, but I'll understand. But we have that going on. Then after that, the next Sunday is our first Sunday in Advent, and then after that comes our first Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So I know this is usually we have the first Sunday in Advent, and then we're hanging the greens afterwards. But because of the way Christmas Eve fell this year and Thanksgiving fell this year, we actually have an extra week in between. So it's actually really cool. We're actually going to have our church decorated for the very first Sunday in Advent, which is, what is that, December 3rd? Or 1st? No, yeah, it's 3rd. Mm-hmm. December 3rd. So we'll have a regular Wednesday service for the Wednesday in between, but on December 6th, we will have our first Advent service. We're looking forward to that. We also look forward to the sausage and pancake meal that happens afterwards.
Yes. Thanks to Rabers.
Rabers.
I know the people.
Rabers.
They're nice people.
So we gotta do that. Got a shout out to Rabers. Great sausage.
Great sausage.
Love it. So come to our Wednesday Advent series. The Peace Has Come to Earth, I believe, is the title. But we just look forward to that. We do a sermon series. We're going to go through. We're going to get ready for Christmas. And really, that's a lot of what Advent is about. It's not just preparing for Christmas, but it's actually preparing for the coming of our Lord. So it is what we're doing, and we're getting ready, and it's going to be awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I feel like we got a lot of stuff, but then we don't at the same time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're about to get real busy with all the Advent stuff, but besides that, I don't think we have anything else. There's no
we have a choir concert, I guess, for the early service on December 10th, I think. Mm-hmm. And then we have the Christmas program on December 17th. Yeah, we got lots of stuff coming up. Just look for more announcements.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. I know what's going to happen. And you know what's going to happen.
You're going to get in trouble from somebody.
Somebody's going to corner me. They're going to be, Pastor Chris, you forgot this. And I'll be like, you're right, because I probably did.
Yes.
Because I probably did. So I'm going to be sorry in advance. All right. Well, that's all I have. And that's all we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And God's blessings to all of you. Bye.
Bye.